Namaskar.
So today's topic is cosmology. There are theories, scientific theories today, that are based on limited amounts of factual information that are available to scientists. Those theories maintain the ever-expanding nature of the universe from a point of singularity. That point of singularity is an explosion into creation, into the material universe. And from that material universe, the development of life forms and innumerable different expressions of creation. But there is no scientific explanation of where that concentrated energy mass that forms the vitality which creates an ever-expanding universe comes from. In the theory of Brahma Chakra, the cycle of manifestation of Brahma, there are two primary polarities. One is unmanifest consciousness, being. The other is matter. And between these two poles, the entire creation evolves into manifestation and then evolves from material manifestation to, again, non-material existence and pure consciousness, pure being, unmanifest, unbound by time, place, or person. To understand this and how it relates to the Big Bang theory, the understanding that the universe is an ever-expanding process, one must go back to the fundamental building block of creation, and that is the relationship of the three gunas, the three primary building blocks, the three primary operative principles of the universe. The first is sattva. Sattva, as you know, is sentient principle, that which has subtle waves of energy and is highest in the concentration of consciousness, lowest in the matter. It is that principle which moves towards consciousness or from consciousness, but contains more consciousness, less matter. Then there is rajas, the principle of movement, of dynamism, and this principle, this operative principle in the universe, creates motion, creates movement, so that there is a movement between these two polarities of the material universe and the unmanifest universe. And then there is tamas, which binds which is a binding process, a static principle, which binds consciousness ever and ever more tightly to move towards matter. So tamas binds consciousness to move towards matter, but it cannot move towards matter without rajas. So rajas, the operative force of movement, moves matter in this ever-binding process towards matter. And then rajas comes into play to disrupt tamas and move it towards sattva, which again with the play of rajas moves ever subtler and subtler manifestation until there is no manifestation at all, and it has moved into the unmanifest. In the unmanifest universe, these primary forces, primary building blocks of creation, form a perfect balance with each other, allowing the manifest universe to be completely passive and the manifest universe to be the unmanifest universe to be the quiescent existence without any disruption, without any wave, without any manifestation. And in the theory of Brahmachakra, this quiescent, unmanifest existence begins to awaken and forms the sattvic principle and begins to move a subtle realm, very, very subtle realm of creation. But as the waves deepen, as rajas begins to awaken and come into play, the moment one of these three primary principles is in play, the others naturally begin to come into play. There is a natural relationship of activity that starts as sattva comes into play and rajas immediately starts to awaken, and motion, activity occurs. First very subtle, becoming increasingly expressive, until there is the development of mind, cosmic mind, mental activity. And this you must remember. The first development is mental activity. Mental activity in the cosmic level. This cosmic, self-aware mental activity. I exist. This sense of existence comes into the cosmos, awareness of its own existence. Because in the pure state of nirguna Brahma, without the manifestation of the gunas, these three primary building blocks, Brahma is quiescent. Even self-awareness is not there. So the first actual manifestation comes in the form of awakened self-awareness. Cosmic mind comes to know its own existence. And from there, as rajas increases its influence, there is the sense that the cosmos manifests, that there is a creative ability of manifestation. And out of this creativity arises the actual manifest universe. In Sanskrit, out of Mahatattva comes the Aham Tattva, the creative expression. And out of that creative expression comes Chitta, the actual expressed universe. And out of that, the 5 fundamental factors devolve towards matter. So the space or ether becomes gaseous. Those gases evolve into light and heat, and that evolves into liquid and the formation of liquid, and out of that evolves matter. And the material universe arises. This entire process is called prati, or it's called sanchara. It is the awakening, the binding of consciousness into ever increasing density, until you have atoms, subatomic particles, and molecules forming out of waves which have become ever more dense. So this process is the process of the formation of the manifest universe. In scientific theory, popular today, the idea of the Big Bang theory is that there is a point of singularity from which arises an ever-expanding material universe, where out of some numinous force, all of creation is moving outward. But where is outward? Outward assumes there is an inward, and there is a directional flow. And outward into what? There must be something existing to move outward into. In the manifestation of being into self-awareness, creative expression, and expressed manifestation, Mahatattva, Aham Tattva, and Chitta, the time-space continuum is formed. In the unmanifest state of beingness, there is no time, there is no space. And therefore, there is no witness, no awareness of the delineation of time or space. When consciousness awakens to its own existence, when it begins to have awakening of the gunas, it becomes what we call mind, mental function, because awareness is now joined with action, with activity. And so the witnessing entity, the witnessing consciousness, begins to experience movement. And as movement occurs, time comes into existence, because now you have awareness witnessing movement. Movement means there is a movement from A to B. So in that there is an A and a B. Something moves from one place to another, from one state of existence to another. When there is movement, there is time. And there is also space. So now you have this triangular relationship again: time, space, and witnessing awareness, consciousness. Somebody, something must know there is a time and a space. Without the knower, the existence of time and space do not stabilize. So again, the gunas come into play: sattva, rajas, and tamas, in this subtle relationship of witness, time, and space. You will find operative principles of the universe repeat themselves again and again and again in multiple levels. When these three have an essential relationship, that relationship can move. When their existence is in a formation, that formation changes. And part of the change of the 5 elemental stratums is the movement of time, space, and causality, or consciousness. And as it moves, there is the generation of subtler and then cruder stratums of creation, until there is the formation out of wave of matter. With this material formation, there is a densification of energy. Consciousness holds so much vitality. When through the gunas it is molded into energy, it is already dense, it is already concentrated. When that energy is formed into more dense waves and finally material substance, it has become immensely concentrated, so that when an atom is split and returned to its original form, it releases tremendous amounts of energy. So much is stored within even a single subatomic particle. That the consequence of even a single atom returning to its to a subtler form, not its original form, but a subtler form, releases huge, huge amounts of energy. And within that energy, there is, again, huge amounts of consciousness, huge amounts of subtler energy that cannot be measured in those same scopes. So needless to say, as the material universe forms, there is a tremendous pressure applied in the formation of consciousness into matter. These two poles are like two poles of a magnet. They repel and attract. And like the poles of a magnet that repel and attract, they force the creative process. And they force the dissolution of that creative process. Matter comes into existence, and matter evolves into subtler and subtler expressions. When matter turns to mind in the development of individual consciousness associated with matter, individual mental function associated with matter, huge amounts of energy are transmuted, are allowed to be released, because mind is so much more subtle. So when individual conscious beings evolve out of matter, huge amounts of this bound energy gets released and then is moved to subtler and subtler realms, greater and greater intellectual capacity, and finally to the dropping of mental function to just being. So this is an expansive process. It is a release of energy. The contractive process forms the material universe. The expansive process releases the energy bound in the material substance and returns it to its original state of freedom. Sattva, influenced by rajas, forms matter. Tamas, influenced by rajas, becomes sattva and forms being, consciousness, mind. So in these theories of today in science, they see the universe as ever in an expanding process. And that is the truth. But this expansion is not limited to what can be seen with the eye. It is an expansion, the deepest expansion, the relevant expansion, is in the development of life and mind out of matter. That's the expansive force which prevents the contractive forces from becoming too extreme and exploding. In this generation, of movement from the crude to the subtle, fueled by the magnetic relationship of opposites, being, consciousness, matter. There is a pull on the material universe by this essential core known in the philosophy as the cosmic nucleus, Purushottama. There is a pull. That nucleus creates a kind of essential pull. All is pulled towards its essential beingness, its essential, elemental, essential nature. So when the moment matter expresses, it's pulled apart. Where is matter going? Where can it go? There is nowhere to go. Time and space, just like matter. Time, space, and causality become changed. When the condensation of creation brings about material expression, that material expression naturally is pulled towards the cosmic nucleus. But where is this cosmic nucleus? Isn't it everywhere? So there is an expansive process. There is nowhere that the cosmos does not exist. Time, space, and causality alter their relationship. Causing an ever subtler manifestation of existence. Mind comes into play, and then mind grows in magnitude until the individual mind becomes a reflection of that cosmic mind. And this is what you must remember. There has never been anything outside of the cosmic mind. Cosmic mind did not evolve into the 5 elemental forces. Cosmic mind is not destroyed by the gunas. Its nature is changed. It remains always as it was, and always self-aware. It remains always creative, and it remains always expressed, and it remains always unmanifest. And as this movement goes on between these two poles, attracting and repelling each other, we call this magnetic force, the attraction and the repellent. And it appears that there is a beginning and an end. But there always has been a beginning, and there always will be an end. Time, space, and causality are fluid. So when did the universe begin? And where does it exist? And to what are the stars expanding? And from what are they contracting? There is an assumption in the theories of today of a static relationship between time and space that does not exist. That is the flaw of these theories. In a multidimensional universe, where time, space, and causality are in a fluid relationship to each other, there is no sudden awakening, or perhaps there has always been, and there still is, a sudden awakening of matter. And there is no conclusion to creation. The very idea of that presupposes time and space in a static relationship to each other. That does not exist. In the stillness of the non-manifest, they are in complete equipoise. In the material universe, they are in a dynamic relationship. Time and space appear to have a linear association according to a certain spectrum of dimensional reality on a particular dimension or loca. When you change the loca, when you change the dimensional relationship, you change the relationship of time and space. Therefore, causality also alters. And as you move into subtler and subtler dimensions of reality, the relationship of time and space become entirely different, and the dimensional expression of this existence is entirely different. There are worlds within worlds within worlds on different dimensional frequencies. operating in different time-space continuum, from the crudity, the density of the material universe, to the complete lack of any movement, any time, any space, any causality in the unmanifest universe. And the question that arises, why is it that movement would begin in the unmanifest? Why? It is in complete equipoise. There must be some force to create that initial movement so that the gunas begin to lose their integrity. But this question assumes the relationship of time and space. It assumes there was a time when the unmanifest existed and the manifest did not. That assumes a linear relationship. That does not exist. Beyond that, the physics of human beings are in the right direction, but to develop the theories further, the human mind must also develop to be able to hold the multidimensional, holistic relationship of the universe in all its subtleties and stratums of existence. Right now it is a mystery to human beings. Only a few hundred years ago it was magic. Now it is mystery, unsolved puzzles, pieces that don't fit together. How do you explain? Questioning minds that try to solve. Growing minds. But the answers lie in the time-space continuum and the multifaceted, multidimensional nature of the cosmos. As long as you make assumptions in this time-space continuum in which the human mind abides, it is like saying the earth is flat and the sun revolves around the earth. So a little growing is needed to understand the holistic nature of creation. It is not linear. Time, space, and witnessing consciousness are ever in a dynamic, multidimensional relationship to each other, not one that has a beginning and an end, not one that formed and then somehow unforms, but in a dynamic, multidimensional, multi-leveled relationship of being. Are there any questions?
I think maybe on that topic, I think maybe I'm satisfied for now.
All right.
What would be best at this time of scientific development? There are theoretical physics and there's also experimental physics.
They are on the verge of beginning to understand how much they do not understand. They are on the verge of discovery that will begin to combine cosmology and quantum physics so that there is a different understanding of the universe.
Because when I studied and worked what is called the theory of distant correlation in quantum theory, they were actually on the verge of how the particle in one place can know what's happening with the particle in another.
Yes, but those are limited. Now, to explain cosmology is very vast, and there must be some deeper understanding. It will come. It will come. Don't worry. All right? All right. Namaskar.
It's really